Salem Radio Network's newest offering. Evenings, you can catch the Dan Proft Show. Of course, he's from Chicago. He's the co-host of the Dan and Amy Show on AM 560, The Answer. I always like it when I have smart people on the line, because when I interview smart people, then I think just by association, sound a little smarter. Dan, congratulations on the new network show. How are you?
Mike, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Always good to be with you.
How do you do this? How do you go crack of dawn and then you're on at nights? You're the hardest working guy in radio. You're making us all look bad.
Yeah, well, just trying to claw my way into relevance so I can be a big shot someday like you.
Nah, you're a big shot, and we love listening to you on the app and all over the country in the mornings and now night, coast to coast on the Salem Radio Network. I don't know if you heard on hold, the caller was asking about witnesses and can McConnell kick it back to the House. I really believe, especially after Romney's announcement a few minutes ago that he wants to hear from John Bolton, I don't think it's a heavy lift to find at least 4 Republicans who will vote for witnesses. Do you agree with me?
Well, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I'm not surprised that Mitt Romney was the first to take the bait. But, I mean, what exactly is this bombshell that the New York Times has with respect to Bolton's manuscript? This is somebody who is characterizing the transcript after allegedly having seen it. This is like third-party hearsay. This is sort of the evidence that wouldn't be admissible if this were actually a court of law. Because CNN calls it a bombshell doesn't make it so, or the New York Times doesn't make it so. And frankly, again, even if what Bolton said, or what Bolton is alleged to have written is true, and President Trump says it isn't, but even if it were, again, what exactly do you have? Jay Sekulow went through this on Saturday during his offering in the defense of the president. Look, there are multiple instances where foreign aid, U.S. foreign aid, was tied to specific performance or held up because of concerns that relate to America's national interests. And this, given everything we know about Burisma, certainly would qualify consistent with concerns that were the result of holding foreign military aid to Afghanistan that were corruption related. So there's just nothing there that goes to the standard we're supposed to be focused on, which is, does this meet the standard of removal from office? And even if you take the lights most favorable to the House managers and most favorable to the bombshell purveyors on cable news, it doesn't. So I actually disagree with Romney. I don't think there should be witnesses. I think there's still there's more than a better chance that Collins, Murkowski, Alexander, at least one of those will not go along. They've been so insulted by Adam Schiff, so much so that Susan Collins actually exclaimed over the weekend, which is shocking considering the source. So no, I'm not sold that witnesses will be called, and I don't think they should be.
I hope you're right. I certainly hope I'm wrong. I mean, I don't want witnesses any more than you do, and I just don't have a lot of confidence in some of these Republicans. And frankly, I'm a little nervous about John Roberts. Even the way Shifty Schiff insulted these Republicans by getting personal, and Jerry Nadler, actually, it was Jerry Nadler who infuriated Susan Collins so much that she sent a note to Roberts to say, hey, will you get this guy in line? And what does Justice Roberts do? He admonishes both sides. You know, I used to umpire college baseball. That's a little bit like when the pitcher would throw at the batter's head, and the rules say you're supposed to warn both sides, and it would always infuriate the side that didn't do anything wrong because, the Republicans didn't do it. Sekulow, the president's lawyers haven't done anything wrong, but I'm concerned about John Roberts.
Yeah, but Roberts can't do anything that isn't provided for in the Senate rules, so you have to have 4 Republicans roll because Mitch McConnell said it's a tie is a loss, and he's not the tie-breaking vote. So you have to have all 4. And again, I think that these senators should be familiar with this whole procedure, this whole strategy of the Democrats, because they went through it in the Kavanaugh hearing. This is, Kavanaugh redux.
Sure.
So this shouldn't come as a surprise to them, and they shouldn't take the bait.
It's amazing, Dan, how Bolton is using the same playbook, exactly the same revenge playbook, like Sean Davis put it over the Federalist, that Comey used against Trump. Apparently, Bolton is using the exact same book agent as James Comey and leaking to the same reporters, all because he was fired And I mean, it's like cue the outrage. The timing of this is so transparent. Anybody paying attention would laugh at this.
Well, I spoke to Jim Carafano from the Heritage Foundation, who about this, and he said, look, I know Bolton, and if Bolton had something material to testify to, if he had material information about the president committing a crime, he would have pressed the House to testify. I have something material to testify to in this case. I have evidence of criminal wrongdoing in this case. And Bolton has never said anything of the sort. He said, if called, I will testify. And again, this New York Times, anonymous review of the manuscript. This shouldn't be sending Republicans into a lather any more than their previous bombshell the day before, Lev Parnas's undercover video from April of 2018, with the president saying to fire the ambassador, which he said publicly, and he did fire her, and he has every right to. That's not a bombshell either. What you have is the president acting within his authority when it comes to ambassadors, acting within his authority when it comes to foreign aid. You just don't have anything.
Dan Proft is with us. He's the morning host on AM 560, The Answer, and now host of his own national show, 9 to midnight Eastern, along the Salem Radio Network and stations all over the country. A caller just pointed out before you joined us, reacting to my observation that last week, with regards to Bolton, Trump himself acknowledged, he said, we didn't leave on very pleasant terms, and that's probably on me. That's probably because of me. And it was one of those rare moments of introspection that you heard from this president, who doesn't often acknowledge things like that, and yet the media didn't even pay much attention to it.
Yeah, that plus, look, they had policy disagreements, and
right.
so there were some raw nerves.
But Dan, there are some presidents, though, and some politicians or even executives, even when there's a policy disagreement, there's a soft place to land. You're diplomatic. We wish him well. He didn't say that about Bolton. That's not who Trump is.
Right. And frankly, if you know John a little bit, it's not really who John is either.
Nope, I do know him. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's got sharp elbows too. So nobody is a shrieking violet here, which is why the hysteria, the CNN and benighting John Bolton, their new hero, is just so silly. And I don't think necessarily that's a role John Bolton is looking to play, by the way.
And incidentally, we haven't even touched on executive privilege. That's a problem because, all of that has been thrown out the window, Dan. Have you noticed with the tapes and leaked tapes and conversations? It's like national security be damned. We just want to take this president down, so we're going to just leak everything we can on this guy.
Well, also, too, I thought the president's team did a great job on Saturday destroying the case of the House managers in just over a couple of hours, just pointing out how they cherry-pick witness testimony, how they cherry-pick constitutional law, how they cherry-pick the witnesses they want to hear from until they don't want to hear from them, like the so-called whistleblower, how they cherry-pick evidence they turn over to us. We don't have a transcript from the Intelligence Community Inspector General. That's all devastating.
It's all bad. Hey, see, I'm smarter already. Catch Dan Proft on your radio. Dan, great having you on the program. Keep fighting the good fight, my friend.
Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it.
Take care.